In this episode, we'll take a look at the Lupo Movielight 300 Dual Color Pro, which is an LED light that competes with the Aputure 300X. Now, what makes this light unique? It is, first of all, very similar to other lights that have been put out on the market for video and film production recently. It is a Bowens mount LED light, so it's a single point LED light, and you can use all of the Bowens mount accessories with it. It is color tunable, so you can tune it from 2800 Kelvin all the way up to 6500 Kelvin, so you can cover basically kind of very warm tungsten-y all the way up to 6500 daylight. So that's really helpful, but what makes it unique? Well, there are a couple things. Number one, Lupo uses a reinforced techno-polymer body with extraordinarily tough metal yoke. So the metal yoke is unlike any other I've seen in a long, long time. Super tough. And that techno-polymer, while it's basically a really high-grade kind of space-age plastic, it makes it so that it's overall very lightweight and so that it's super, super tough. It actually has better impact resistance if you drop it versus metal, which is more likely to dent and kind of create a lot of a jarring effect to the electronics inside. So you'd probably be better off dropping this in a metal-bodied light. Another thing that makes this one unique is that there's no external control box or ballast. It's all one unit. It all sits up on the light stand, and because it's lightweight, that isn't a problem. So you don't have to have an external control box that sits down on the stand somewhere, all in one unit. Really like that. Another thing that's really unique about the Lupo lights, the newer generation lights, is that they have Powercon connectors, but they have not only a Powercon input, but also an output. And the reason for that is a lot of time in TV studios, they will daisy chain these. So if they're going to put these lights up on a grid, for example, they can run the power up to one and then daisy chain to several others. So that's a super nice feature as well. So you don't have a mess of cables up in your grid. It's a lot easier to manage it that way. Now let's look at the pros. Overall, in addition to those unique features, we did test the color quality with our Seikonic C800 photospectrometer. And as far as what we're seeing here, it's actually putting out more light than the Aputure 300X, both at tungsten and at daylight. And in addition to that, it comes in with a very good SSI score. That is the Spectral Similarity Index, which is usually the score that I look at first. In tungsten mode at 3200 Kelvin, it came in with a score of 84 out of 100, which is very, very good for an LED light. And then over at daylight, it came in at 75. So right on par basically with the Aputure 300X, but it puts out even more light than the Aputure 300X. You can power this via AC, so anywhere between 90 and 200 volts AC, or you can power it via DC for battery, anywhere from 14.8 to 24 volt DC. You do have to buy a separate V-mount plate that you can actually mount on the yoke of the light to mount any sort of V-mount batteries. Overall, the unit comes in at 11 pounds or 5 kilograms, which is quite good. Again, overall, for a single unit light, that's really, really helpful. It does have a user replaceable 15 amp fuse. One other thing that's really nice about this is that if you do put barn doors on it, for example, we put the Aputure F10 barn doors, those are the larger barn doors on this unit, it cuts much cleaner lines than the Aputure 300X does. Now, the trick with doing a bicolor single point light like this is you have to mix the colors, and whatever you put in front of that group of LEDs to mix the color can make things a little messy when it comes to cutting the light with barn doors. Somehow, Lupo's done something here that works much better than what Aputure did with their 300X. So if you're into using hard light and cutting it with barn doors, this one's going to be a better fit for you. You can use multiple dimming curves, so if you prefer to work with linear or exponential or logarithmic, all of those are available. It's just a configuration setting in the menus. You do have a variety of effects as well if you're into these. Strobe, TV, lightning, paparazzi, they're all there. You can control this light via a Bluetooth app. On iOS, it's currently in beta, so it's a little bit rough around the edges, but I like that it connects fairly quickly, and it is very simple in terms of its control, so that's a nice feature as well. And of course, the light does come with a 1-year warranty, but what I also appreciate is that for working professionals, in the US at least, there are 2 different companies you can work with who are certified to do service on the Lupo lights. including this one. So that's really useful. Again, if you're a working professional, something goes wrong with one of your lights, you can actually have it shipped somewhere within the United States to have it repaired. Now, a couple of cons I want to talk about. Number one, the fan is a little bit on the loud side. The light right here is about 2 meters from me. And that's what it sounds like. Now, is that a deal breaker? That's up to you to decide. I'd prefer for it to be a little bit quieter, but it is workable. If you're going to do a lot of really close-in shots with sound, that could potentially be a little bit problematic. One other con is that, like most new LED lights these days, it comes in a little bit magenta when it's brand new. As all LEDs age, they tend to turn a little bit more green over time, so that'll change, but it did have a color correction index of 0.6 green, which is a little bit higher than I usually like to see. Now, one of the great features of this light is that it does use a standard Bowens mount. So what does that mean? What accessories can you use with it right out of the box? Well, I have a bunch of Aputure accessories, so I went ahead and tried each of those, and what I found was that the Light Dome 2 works, the Light Dome Mini 2 works, the Lantern works, the F10 barn doors work, and the original barn doors all work. Although I will say that with this light, because the point source is a little bit larger, I would really recommend the F10 barn doors if you are planning to cut the light. Now, anything with optics in it did not work. So that's going to be the spotlight mount, the Fresnel 2X, and the F10 Fresnel. So if you were planning on using one of the accessories with optics in it, you really have to get one that's designed for the particular light that you're going to be working with, or at least the system of lights that you're going to be working with. So if you were planning to use those with this, that's a no-go. So overall, there is a look at the Lupo Movielight 300 Dual Color Pro. If I had to choose between this and the Aputure 300X, it would be a really tough choice. There's some features on this I really like. I like the all-in-one design, especially if you're taking it out into the field or on location. The Aputure's app for controlling remotely is more mature than this, but I think hopefully we'll see that mature over on the Lupo side here before too much longer. I would say that the fan on the 300X is a little bit quieter than what you're getting on the Lupo. I like that you can cut with barn doors with the Lupo, not so much with the Aputure where you get a bunch of funky lines. So overall, it's pretty close of a toss-up. I would say this, though, the regular pricing on the Lupo comes in at $998 US, whereas the Aputure 300X comes in at roughly $1,200. So about a $200 difference with the Lupo being less expensive. So that's a pretty nice feature there. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. If you've not already subscribed, make sure you do that, and we'll be sure to get you more great videos on how to improve your lighting and sound for video. Talk to you soon.